Well, this is Drive Mumbai, and it's time to connect you to this evening's Youth Star. This is the largest youth forum on radio where we connect Mumbai's youth to inspiring personalities from varied fields.
With inspiring stories of new age youth stars from Mumbai, this is Radio 1 Youth Stars, honoring city's own youth stars.
Our youth star this evening is Parmesh Shahani. He's got like a million sparkling facets to him, which is why at the cost of sounding horribly cliched, he shines bright like a diamond.
Yes, including my sparkly bow ties.
It is! My goodness, what a bow tie. I'm going to come to your whole, sense of fashion and how you put yourself together. Every single time I see you, it's something radically different. But thank you so much for coming in and sharing our space this evening on Drive Mumbai.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I walk home to your show every evening because I'm very lucky. I live in Vikhroli and work in Vikhroli.
Okay.
So it's not drive with Erica, it's a walk home with Erica.
So long as I sort of keep you moving, that's
yes,
important.
Yes,
We're going to come to
completely.
the whole Vikhroli Connect in just a bit. Your site describes you as author, editor, venture capitalist, entrepreneur, ethnographer, curator, cultural catalyst. I mean, I would need a season of 12 episodes to break it down, but we've just got 12 minutes, so we're going to try and compress that.
Fashionista, you forgot fashionista.
I'm sorry, darling. Fashionista, of course. I'm going to come to the whole cultural catalyst bit and the super work that you're doing at the Godrej India Culture Lab. So a bit about how that project came together and, what's it doing for Mumbai's culture vultures.
We started 4 years ago as an attempt to really bring together people who are operating in different silos,
right,
but all interested in contemporary India. So academics, performers, thinkers, designers, urban planners. We said, what if we could create this ambiguous, shape-shifting space, a new kind of space in which we could cross-pollinate all these interesting people and all these interesting ideas about the India that we live in today. Mm-hmm. And can we have an ongoing conversation about this? So the past 4 years have been just one long conversation, whether about gender, whether about sexuality, whether about the city that we live in, whether about the kinds of arts that we produce, sometimes about the economy. We've had world-class economists flow through our lab.
Right.
Sometimes about things like emotional intelligence. We've had people, say, from the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence come and give lectures. So we are a very unique kind of space, not just in Mumbai and in India, but also globally.
Okay.
Because everything we do is in Vikhroli at the Godrej campus. Everything we do is free and open to all. So in a sense, we are part cultural center, part an alternative to TED.
Mm-hmm. Like a knowledge disseminator.
Yeah.
What a brilliant space, I must say as well. And coming to the whole Vikhroli Connect, I read somewhere that you said you're basically trying to shift the city's cultural epicenter to Vikhroli because Sobo is so boring and Bandra is so bohemian.
Bandra is like bourgeois. We have all these names. Bourgeois, Bandra, so boring, Sobo. We're totally over the western line. So we think the central line is it. I'm very interested in this, in place making.
Right.
If you look historically, there's a reason why all these old, institutional cultural spaces are in South Bombay. But it's a dead place physically.
Right.
All the action, all the people have moved way northward.
Northwards, yeah.
But the north is surprisingly underserved. And why does 90% of the city have to travel to so boring Sobo to experience culture? So Vikhroli, if you look at it, is right in the center.
No.
For all our events, we have people who come from Navi Mumbai, we have people who come from Chembur, from Ghatkopar, from Titwala, from Kalyan, from Thane, and including, earlier it was resentfully, but now quite happily, people from Sobo, because they realize that Sobo is really so boring and all the action is in Vikhroli.
That's so true.
Historically and geographically, we've actually managed to shift the
Cultural
center.
centers.
Just, we had a feminist film festival 2 weeks ago.
I spoke to the girls from the Ladies Finger.
Correct, yeah, and we had on an Independence Day weekend, we had about 500 to 600 people every day at an event. You tell me any other film screening in the city, and I've gone to all of them. So you can even assemble more than 40 or 50 people to come and see. This is not Rowdy Rathore types of films, right? This is a film festival. So it was just, we've already shifted the cultural center of the city.
Could be right back with more from Radio 1's Youth Star this evening. Culture catalyst Parmesh Shahani right here on Drive Mumbai. Do stay connected. Let's get right back to that brilliant chat we've been having with Mumbai's cultural catalyst and Radio 1's Youth Star for this evening. Parmesh Shahani, who heads the Godrej India Culture Lab that's doing wonderful stuff to amp up Mumbai's cultural scene. Well, experimenting with all of this, and the whole Godrej India Culture Lab space, what have been, some of the stellar ideas that have come out of, projects in the recent past?
I think the big idea has been that the city is so ready to experiment. Each time we've tried to do something different, we've wondered, will it succeed? And it's gone beyond our expectations. So, for example, in 2012, we took over a big Godrej warehouse which was going to be demolished the next day, and we said, people have birthday parties, what if we throw a death day party?
What?
So
Right.
let's celebrate it dying by creating a museum of memories. So we invited about 100 artists, performers, fashion designers, food artists, and giant
crazy.
robot makers, racing car drivers. We invited like a whole bunch of really cool, crazy people, and we said, can we create a museum that lives just for a day? And then next day, can we celebrate its death? In a sense, celebrating transience instead of permanence.
Right.
Saying that what matters in life are the connections we have and the memories we leave behind, right?
Right.
Again, it was trending at number 2 in the city. We had thousands of people come. So it's just one idea that really took off.
Right.
And that's the thing. Each time we try, we do something new. We say, will it work? Will it not? If it feels good to us, we do it. And all credit to the people of this incredible city, right? Which is why I'm so glad you're doing this show.
Yeah.
Because it's full of diversity. It's full of people who are willing to embrace and accept and celebrate difference.
Absolutely. So you're right in the thick of Mumbai's cultural soup. Talk to us about the sense of emergence, I should say, of this new kind of global Mumbai culture. I say global Mumbai because that seems to be where we're heading, and we're quite comfortable in that. At the same time, quite rooted in our city. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I think all around the world, if you see, the most interesting culture happens both at margins and at intersections. And Mumbai is no different. If you look at our margins, there's great work coming out of the LGBT scene, for example, right? Whether it's film screenings, there's film festivals like Kashish, which, we at the Culture Lab often collaborate with, whether it's performance poetry, whether it's hip-hop, whether it's graffiti. So when I look at all the exciting things that's happening around the margins that's not in the mainstream of Mumbai, I'm extremely thrilled. In that sense, we're very much a global city because our artists, our musicians, our performers, our academics and thinkers are all connected. Whether you're in Mumbai, whether you're in Berlin, whether you're in Melbourne, wherever you are, there is a global network of emergent culture. I think what we have to celebrate in the city is that we do it without almost any institutional help.
Right.
A lot of these other global cities which have good cultural scenes have either city councils that support the arts or fund the arts. In our case, we do it with the spirit of Jugaad. In a sense, what we're doing double the work, right? We are building the pipes of the infrastructure and we are flowing through them.
Right.
A lot of the artists and performers of other cities just have to flow through them.
Yeah, there's a perfect analogy when you look at people who are involved in the events industry. They have to build, the stadiums to have their events into to start off with. So for them, it's in that much more of an effort.
And we still do it with such style, with such joy. And I think that's something that we should really, really, really celebrate about this.
What I'm also getting out of you, I've seen you speak at places and things like that, is a great sense of positivity, always, regardless of what topic you're dealing with. Where does that come from?
It comes from many places, but it comes from fundamentally believing that tomorrow can be better than today. And it's something that I work on a lot, whether it's in reading books, or whether it's in having a good counselor and a life coach. I've studied a lot. I've been very blessed with, going to a bunch of really great schools, institutions, learning at incredible workplaces. And I realized that, having a positive spirit and having a can-do and, attitude is really, really, really very important, because if we start looking at everything that's wrong with the world, it's very easy to get overwhelmed. But if you start by looking at what's right, how what's right is happening, you find these heroes, you find these change agents, and you feel really, really inspired. So I'm inspired by all the incredible people in India who are making a difference, and I'm very blessed that so many of them are my friends.
Right.
It's happening before our eyes. I find no reason to be negative.
Well, that's just wonderful. Going to be right back to chat some more right here on Drive Mumbai. Do stay with us. Well, sharing our space this evening is Radio 1's youth star and one of India's foremost culture catalysts. It's Parmesh Shahani. Coming back to your association with academia and also, educational institutions overseas and stuff, the future of education, the way we learn and the whole knowledge exchange process, what is your exposure to and interactions with students in academia around the world indicated?
I think knowledge is going to come from multiple places. I think places like universities will really have to revamp themselves in a world where open courseware exists, where people are learning things, by themselves. Maker spaces and hacking spaces like that exist, where people are learning things by sharing with each other. I think institutional places like universities really have to ask themselves what are they offering to people that they cannot get themselves, either from the internet or by sharing from each other. The other thing is that I think, and this is something we found out at Godrej itself, knowledge won't only come from knowledge spaces. Knowledge will come from the workplace, knowledge will come from other places. So at Godrej, for example, we recruit using this very innovative thing called Godrej Loud, where we go to campuses and ask people for their dreams, and if we like their dreams, we not only give them a job, we also give them the money to live out their dream.
Wow.
So we're saying your workplace can be a place where you come to be self-actualized. Someone will say, I want to fly a hot air balloon. Someone will say, I want to ride a bike from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Someone will say that I want to go to Austria at the same place where the Sound of Music was shot and dress up as Julie Andrews and sing The Hills Are Alive. And these are all dreams that we funded incidentally.
Are you serious?
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
Other people will say, I want to dig a well in my village. So it's a range of things. So be self-actualized, before you come and start working with us. To me, that's a kind of knowledge as well. So I think these boundaries between where you learn what,
Right.
I think these boundaries are all going to
Change.
And so we as stakeholders, whether it's corporations, whether it's the government, whether it's educational institutions, whether it's individuals and citizens as well, all these roles are changing. If you look at things like social enterprises, right? I mean, is it the nature of a corporation to do good? This has all come up in the past 10 years. Now there's a branch of, in terms of,
CSRs and stuff.
it's not just CSR, right? There's so many companies that are focusing on
sustainable development.
on sustainable development and like very happy to take a hit in terms of returns,
Right.
but if the company is doing good. Social ventures, governments are getting into making profits, not-for-profits are figuring out how you can sustain yourself, educational institutions are figuring out other things. It's a shape-shifting world. So I think it's a very exciting world, in a world where I think so young people more than anything else need to be really agile at, you know, just adapting, getting more
very fluid in
knowledge
their thoughts,
and
yeah.
being very fluid. And if you can be more fluid, if you can adapt, if you can recognize that what matters most is the value that you add to others more than
Right.
anything else, including society, and then you're right for it. If you're stuck in silos, I think, you know, you're a dinosaur.
And don't be afraid to wear sunshine yellow bow ties.
Especially not if it's ikat and made in India.
Love that. You know, coming to your sense of fashion, where do you draw it from? Because I see you at all the events, and you know, every time it's something really, really interesting and eye-catching.
I think it comes from just having a strong sense of aesthetics. Ever since I was young, I wanted to dress very particularly. Over the years, I refined my own style. I'm a big fan of Indian textiles, so I actually travel all across India collecting textiles,
Okay.
which I then make into these beautiful shirts.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of bow ties, so I travel around the world collecting bow ties. Actually, I have so many.
How many do you have?
I stopped counting after about 200.
200?
You don't count such things. So I think my own sense of fashion comes from just being magpie-like, and I really, what I love most is mixing things up.
Yeah.
So I love mixing an Orissa ikat shirt, say with a Loma bow tie, with Vivian Westwood shoes,
Nice.
with maybe a clutch by Cell Design 1111, which is a brand I love out of Delhi. The way I put myself together is, in a sense, reflective of the way I think about the world, reflective of the way I approach work. I look at life. I think it's curation more than anything else.
Very interesting. Speaking of curation, what's in your man bag?
My phone, my iPhone 6 Plus. It's gold because I'm Sindhi. We have to have a little bit of gold. And Hermes cologne because, you know, in
gotta
the
smell
city.
good.
My lovely Anoki handkerchief.
Nice.
Because I like gentlemen who carry handkerchiefs, including myself. My credit cards because we are in Mumbai after all.
Yeah.
A packet of Altoid mints because you never know.
You never know.
You have to be minty fresh all the time. Just regular stuff.
It's Radio 1's Youth Town Drive Mumbai this evening. Culture Catalyst Parmesh Shahani. More to come, to stay with us. And we've been having such a fun evening with Parmesh Shahani from the Godrej India Culture Lab. He's our youth star this evening. Let's bring him right back on to wrap up our chat.
With inspiring stories of new age youth stars from Mumbai, this is Radio 1 Youth Stars, honoring city's own youth stars.
What's the current big idea or big trend that we should embrace at the moment? A cultural big idea or big trend that we should embrace?
I think a focus on gender, but really looking at gender as, you know, something that expands beyond women, looking at gender through the lens of both femininity as well as masculinity. And this is why we were so excited, for example, some weeks ago to collaborate with Ladies Finger and do the Feminist Film Festival. Because we shouldn't really look at gender and look at the conversations around gender in our country as something that came, say, post Nirbhaya. It's something that we need to look at as a long-term conversation. I think gender is a big one.
Right.
I think sexuality is another big one. We're in an interesting place right now in our country where we have a Supreme Court that has given one very positive opinion in terms of transgender rights,
Right.
but has given a very confused opinion in terms of LGBT rights.
Right.
So I think how that plays out is going to be very interesting, and it's going to play out not just in courts. It's going to play out at the workplace. It's going to play out
On
in
the streets,
homes.
I mean,
it's
I
going to
feel
play
it,
out,
yeah.
you know, how people negotiate sexuality with families. I'm actually very, very positive about that as well. I think India inherently is an inclusive country. I think the third thing that we should really be very aware of is equality and issues of equality and inequality.
Right.
And linked to that, issues of citizenship. You know, what does it mean to be an Indian?
And what does it mean to be a modern Indian today?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because modernity is not really linked to having gadgets or maybe using apps in a particular way, right? It's linked to a mindset. And in that sense, I would think to be a really modern Indian is by going back to really ancient Indian ideas of pluralism,
That's
of
right.
inclusiveness, of acceptance, of tolerance. tolerance. So in that sense, being a very modern Indian is not very different from being a very ancient Indian. The confusing years are the ones in between.
Unlearn a lot.
You have to unlearn and unpack a lot.
Unpack a lot,
Yeah.
yes. The baggage is quite tremendous.
Yeah.
You wrote one book, Gay Bombay, Globalization, Love and Belonging in Contemporary India.
Yes.
When's the next one coming along? Right.
I'm going to start writing. I finally feel like I have a second book ready. It's going to be non-fiction. It'll have less citations than Gay Bombay, which was an academic text.
Okay.
But I think, within a couple of years, you'll see another book. And then I have a bunch of book ideas actually in mind. So I
Very
think
cool.
you'll see some.
Very cool.
But did my publisher call you and make you ask me that question?
Maybe. I'm kidding. Okay, and as we wrap up, I know that you're, packed with positivity, but there could be days when you could be a little low. So what's that carpe diem phrase that gets you to get up there and seize the day? Do you have something you go to?
I don't have a phrase, but I have dark chocolate. And it really helps.
that
I think
works.
there's nothing like 74% dark chocolate, at least for me. It brightens me up immediately. It makes me happy. I have at least 2 pieces at the end of every night.
You do?
I mean, just before I go to bed. And it's what makes me really happy.
Yeah, well, I don't mind sharing it with you, so feel free to call me over to Godrej India Culture Labs and I shall be there. Thank you so
The
much.
only thing if you come to us in Vikhroli, we're like Hotel California. You can check in, but then you'll never be able to leave.
Thank you so much for being our youth star for this evening right here on Drive
Thank
Mumbai.
you for having me on your show, Erica. Thank you.